Wake up in the grind, clock ticking, 20 minutes flat, freedom main handed.
What color am I feeling? I'm feeling pink today. Pink Mike. Yeah. All right. What's up? And welcome back to another episode of 20-Minute Freedom Project. I'm your host, Josh Lopez. This show is for those who want ownership, discipline, freedom, and to build a life they've always wanted, one that is earned and not handed to them. Today's episode, good is the thief of great. We're not talking about business theory. We're talking about your life. I was in my truck the other morning, sitting in the parking lot of the gym, and I did not want to go in. Not because I was tired, not because I hurt, because I knew that if I went inside, I couldn't just have a good workout. I'd have to push. And in that moment, good felt easier. That thought right there is the same thought that keeps everyone stuck for years. Good doesn't feel like failure. It feels like relief. And that's exactly why it's dangerous. Good is one of the most convincing lies that we all believe because it comes with evidence. You're doing okay. The bills are paid. Life is stable. People respect you. Nothing is on fire. So you tell yourself, I'm good. But here's the part that no one really wants to recognize. Good is not the destination. It's a decision. A decision that stops you from pushing. Let me paint a picture. A man in his mid-30s did everything right, worked hard, built a career, got married, started a family. Early on, he was sharp, disciplined, hungry. But over time, he starts making small trades, skips workouts. Not always, but sometimes. He stops reading, stops learning, stops investing in himself. Date nights turn into Netflix nights. He still shows up, but not fully. And nothing falls apart, but his life still works. So he keeps going. And 5 years later, he's not the same man. Not worse in any way that someone could point out, but he's not better either. It doesn't break you. It flattens you. You become a different version of yourself, going through the motions, but not getting any better. Here's what most people miss. Good is not a moment. It's a pattern. And a pattern compounds over time. You don't wake up one day and say, I'm just going to settle. You just choose comfort over challenge a few times a week. And over time, those choices build a new life. Jim Collins said this simply, good is the enemy of great. He was studying companies. What he actually uncovered was this. The companies that never became great were not actually bad. They were just good. They had enough success, but they removed the urgency. There's actually a psychological reason that this happens. It's called hedonic adaptation. You get used to the life fast. What used to feel like success begins to feel normal. And instead of raising the standards and raising the bar, most people just lower the effort. They become the status quo. So you're not operating at a level that would be disappointing the previous version of you, but it's not impressing it either. Let me ask you something, and I want you to actually answer it. You don't have to answer it to me, but you have to answer it to yourself. Would the version of you 5 years ago be proud of who you're showing up as today, or would they expect more? Let's get specific, because this isn't abstract. This is everywhere. First, your body. You're not in terrible shape, but you're not sharp. You've accepted the version of yourself that you would have rejected years ago, and you justify it away. I'm busy. I've got responsibilities. I'm not 20 anymore. And look, some of those are real, but the body is the foundation. If you accept good enough in the body, everything else follows suit. Next is your relationships. This one hits really hard because it's quiet. It's a silent killer. You stop pursuing, not intentionally, but gradually. You stop asking deeper questions, stop leading, stop showing up with energy. And the relationship doesn't explode. It just cools off. And now you're living with someone instead of building something with them. Next is your work. You hit a level, and instead of pursuing further, you stabilize. You become efficient, comfortable, predictable, but you stop expanding. And in a world that always is moving, standing still is falling behind. Next is your faith in your inner life. You still show up, but it's just routine now. No hunger, no depth, no pursuit. And you convince yourself that consistency equals growth. And I'm sorry to tell you, but it doesn't. This is the difference. The drifter builds a life that works. The operator builds a life that demands more. The drifter avoids discomfort. The operator seeks it out. The drifter negotiates with his standards. The operator enforces the standards that he has set. And over time, those identities separate more than you think. Let me clean something up because at times this can get a little bit twisted. Contentment is gratitude with momentum. Complacency is gratitude with growth. One builds and one stalls. I know a man that sold his business. He made good money, enough to step back for a minute. And for a while, it felt great. He got the freedom, he had the time, he had the space. He could spend it with his family. He could do the things that he really enjoyed and wanted to do. But after a year or so, he started feeling off. Not because anything was really wrong. All the bills were paid. He was enjoying things. But nothing was pulling him anymore. No pressure, no challenge, no edge. He thought he wanted that. But when he really broke it down, it felt empty. That's what happens when you remove the pursuit. Viktor Frankl understood this. He said, meaning comes from tension. The space between where you are and what you are moving towards. Remove that tension and you remove the meaning. That's why good feels empty over time. Good steals from you in 4 specific ways. And when you can see that being taken, it hits a different way. First is your urgency. Nothing's broken, nothing feels urgent. And without urgency, the great work doesn't get done. Second is your hunger. You're fed, but you're not fulfilled. Jim Rohn called it a burning desire. Hill called it a burning obsession. Robbins says, turn your shoulds into musts. They're all pointing at the same fire. Good puts it out. Third is your identity. A man becomes the story he tells himself over and over. Live it good long enough, and you start identifying as a good man, not a great one. And then that identity becomes the ceiling of your results. And fourth is your time, the only resource you cannot get back. Every year lived at good is a year stolen from a year living at great. And that's not meant to be a guilt statement. It's just math. Let me bring this down to action. 3 things. Be ruthless with yourself. 1, identify one area where you've been settling. Not 10, just the one, because clarity beats overwhelm. Name what it is. You're going to write it down. You cannot reject what you haven't identified. 2, you are going to define the gap. Where you are now versus where you know you should be. Not vague, you're going to be very specific. What does great actually look like for that area in your life? You're going to write it down. You're going to make it real. That gap is not a source of shame. That gap is the engine. And 3, you're going to act within 24 hours. 1 action, you're going to do it immediately. It's not going to be perfect, and that's okay. But you're going to be decisive on that thing. And I want you to sit with a question. Are you building a life you are proud of, or maintaining one that is just acceptable? Good will keep you safe. Great will require something from you. Discomfort, discipline, standards. But only one of those paths leads somewhere worth going. Good is comfortable. Great is earned. And if this episode made you look at your life and make you think about where you have been choosing good over great, share it out with friends, family members, maybe on your social media. That way, you and those around you can build greater lives, one that is in accordance with great and not just good. And remember, standards over feelings. Ownership creates momentum. Freedom isn't found, it's built. And I will catch you on the next one.